Hey guys, welcome to Philosophy and Christian Thought. My name's Josh Broward and I'm your professor for this class. So, thought I'd start with telling you a little bit about myself. I'm married to an awesome woman and I've got two really cool kids. They're just turned 4 and 12, so that's a handful. And I'm a pastor at Dunland Community Church. It's in Chesterton, Indiana. But before that, I lived in Korea for 9 years. So I was pastor of an international church over there. Just like around here, there's Spanish speaking or Korean speaking churches. Well, I was pastor of an English speaking church over in South Korea, about an hour south of Seoul. And we moved back about 2.5 years ago. Another thing about me that's important for this class is I really like doubt. Now, that may sound strange for a pastor to say that I like doubt, but I don't think doubt is actually the opposite of faith. I think doubt is part of this ongoing conversation that we have in the faith process. Life is full of hard questions that don't have easy answers, and doubt keeps us humble and keeps us searching for better answers. It keeps us open to hearing possible answers from other people and keeps us searching and keeps us from becoming too rigid and too stuck in our ways, in our thought ways, so that we can be open to thinking about new stuff and open to maybe understanding things in a better, deeper way. So that's pretty important when we start getting into philosophy, because philosophy is all about hard questions, deep questions, and searching for answers. But your first reaction, if you're like most students, your first reaction to a philosophy class might be something like this. Yeah, so most students think philosophy is boring, hard, and irrelevant. And so they're not very excited about studying it in depth for 5 weeks. Here's why I want to refute that, or here's what I think's wrong about that. Here are some reasons why I think you actually do want to learn philosophy. Philosophy is all about life's deep questions. I mean, we all have them. Who is God? What is truth? How can a loving God allow so much pain and suffering in the world? What's really right and wrong, and how do we decide about that? We all have questions. What's the best way, the best form of government, and what's the role of government, and how do we manage the economy in a way that's just and fair, and what is justice and fairness anyway? All right, that's philosophy. And so you have those questions, whether you think about them every day or not, they're there somewhere under the surface. This is your chance to dig into that and really think more about that. Another thing, I'm about to apply to a PhD program, and that is a doctorate in philosophy. I'm actually going to try to get a doctorate in philosophy in organizational development. But you can get a PhD. You can study the philosophy of anything. I mean, you can study the philosophy of music. You can study the philosophy of science. You can get a PhD in history. You can study the philosophy of art. You can study the philosophy of education, psychology, all kinds of stuff. Philosophy is like the underlying thing for all knowledge, for everything that we can study or learn about. Philosophy is that underlying foundation. So the intro to philosophy, which is basically what this class is, that sort of breaks the door open to understand what's the underlying logic behind everything else in the world. So you might think about it like this. My dad got an MBA as an adult student, similar to you guys. Night classes, they didn't really have online stuff when he was doing it, but if they did, some of the classes would have been online. And he took a couple of accounting and high-level finance classes, and one of the professors said, look, guys, girls, ladies, we aren't trying to make you accountants or CFOs, chief financial officers. That's not what this class is. If you were trying to do that, you'd be in a Master's of Accounting class. What this class is, this is trying to get you to understand the vocabulary and the basic tools of accounting and finance, so that when those accounting and finance people talk to you, you actually have a clue what they're saying. It's not just going straight over your head. And so that if somebody's trying to pull the wool over your eyes, if somebody's trying to pull a slick trick financially, you can look at the spreadsheet and say, something's not right about this picture because I understand a little bit about this. That's what philosophy is. That's what the intro to philosophy is. Philosophy and Christian thought is trying to help you get the basic tools of philosophy so that you know what's going on in all of the whole philosophy conversations. You may not understand all the deep, high-level stuff. I don't either. The point is, we're trying to get, this class is all about getting familiar with the basic tools. This is what a philosophical wrench is. This is how you use a philosophical screwdriver, and we'll work through that as the class goes on. Also, I hope you're just kind of curious about what people have been thinking about for the last 2,000 or 3,000 years, because philosophy goes back at least that far. Way back, philosophy is older than Jesus. I mean, it goes way, way, way back to Athens and to the Middle East and to Central Asia, where people, the scholars and the thinkers of the world have been asking these deep questions. Well, what are those deep questions, and what kind of answers did they come up with for those? That's what we're talking about. All right, so give me 10 seconds of your time and think about what is your biggest reason for wanting to learn philosophy. Now, I know you have to graduate, and this is a required class to graduate. But beyond that, and beyond hopefully getting an A in the class, why do you personally actually want to learn some philosophy in the next 5 weeks? Go ahead, think about it. All right, hold on to that and try to pin that in your mind, because you're going to need that in a couple of weeks when this starts getting thick and heavy. And you're going to be holding that book and saying, why am I doing this again? It's because of that. It's because of that stuff that you want to learn, that stuff you want to understand. That'll help you at 10 o'clock at night when you're still drinking coffee and reading about Kierkegaard, who's a philosopher we're going to study. All right, so hold on to that for a minute. Just a couple of quick overview type things before we really dig into the class. What is philosophy anyway? All right, if you break the Greek words down, it's the love of wisdom. The Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Sophia, wisdom. So the love of wisdom. That's a pretty decent definition of philosophy. But philosophy really just asks questions about reality and truth and value. And it also asks questions about the fundamental nature of all other subjects. Philosophy asks questions about our questions. So there's 3 big areas of philosophy. First, metaphysics, which is asking questions about reality. Does God exist? What is reality? Where did our world come from? Then there's epistemology, which is borderline the most confusing. Metaphysics and epistemology are close contenders for the hardest branches, but we'll work through that. Epistemology is about truth. What is truth, and how do we know what we know? And then third is axiology, which is a big fancy word that just means values. What is valuable? What is a good life? And what is beauty? And how are we supposed to work together in society? So those are the 3 things we're going to study. Metaphysics, or reality, epistemology, or truth, and axiology, values. So every week I'll post an announcement about what's going on for the week, and that'll give you the scoop. Also, every week, in addition to your individual work, you'll have some group work to do on theodicy, which is basically a philosophical, theological word for how can we have a loving God and a world with a whole lot of suffering? How do these go together? And so you're actually going to think through that together as a group for the next 5 weeks, and then in the last week, you'll give a PowerPoint presentation. And then last, make sure you complete the academic honesty statement. It's on the left sidebar of the course homepage near the top. Indiana Wesleyan University takes this stuff pretty seriously. We have a strict plagiarism policy, and so if I have any doubts that you may have unfairly used someone else's work, I have to refer that up the chain to my superiors, and then they make the decision about how to respond to your paper. So we don't want to get into all of that. This class is all about thinking, and it's great to reference other thinkers to complement your own thoughts and to fuel and provide some structure and some meat to the questions you're trying to wrestle with. Just make sure that you do your own thinking too, and that you give other people credit for theirs. All right, here's the closer. This may sound surprising, but I think philosophy is fun. At least it can be if we do it right. So let's have some fun together. Interact a lot, be present on the discussion boards, respond to each other. That'll help your grade, but it'll also help you have fun. And if you have any questions along the way, shoot me an email. I'll do my best to respond as fast as I can. Thanks.